In my previous life, a month before getting engaged to my first love, our mutual close friend cornered her at her doorstep. Crying, he confessed he'd always liked her and begged for a chance. She didn't agree, and later we got married. But he never gave up. One day, my first love became leftover rice. The mosquito blood that never really went away turned into a cinnabar mole on her heart. Eagerly pregnant, she came to assert her territory, and in the struggle, she pushed me down the stairs. I hit my head, blood everywhere. Dazed, I saw my first love and her mom rushing over. They were focused on her, worried if the fall hurt the baby. Next thing I know, I opened my eyes and I was back in high school, staring at a boy and a girl in front of me. This time, everything's going to be different. I found myself in the classroom, wearing my high school summer uniform. The cicadas chirping and cheers from outside mixed together in my ears. I sat up straight, bewildered, looking around. The last thing I remember was holding a draft of our divorce agreement from the law office. Coming home to find Tina, with her belly, waiting at the door. She boasted, "I'm pregnant. Eric says I should divorce you." I stayed silent, stepping past her, unlocking the door. Perhaps my indifferent attitude didn't compliment her victory, and she grew emotional, gripping onto me. In the tussle, she suddenly shoved me, and I stumbled down the stairs. My head hit the ground. The warm blood and sharp pain were my last sensations. Along with hurried footsteps, a bottle of water was placed on my desk. "Did you get heat stroke? You barely lasted halfway through gym. What happened?" I looked up at a familiar, slightly worried face. It was Tina, a much younger Tina, my first love, my wife, Tina. I stared at her, but my mind drifted to the Tina who rushed over after the fall, comforting her cries, telling her not to worry, that the baby would be fine. Then, not getting a response, Tina waved a hand in front of me. "Are you feverish?" I suddenly found it all a bit pathetic. Even in that moment, I still dreamed of some concern from her. Is that how desperate I was for her attention? I let out a cold laugh. Tina was taken aback, and then another familiar, exaggerated voice came from the doorway. "Ben, you okay?" Eric burst in, looking all concerned. "Heard you almost fainted from heat stroke. Scared me to death." But even as he said those words, he was moving closer to Tina, brushing against her sleeve. "How did I never notice before?" I murmured. "What?" Both of them seemed puzzled. "What a fool I've been." I shook my head with a smile. I treated Eric like a close friend, sharing secrets about me and Tina, inviting him into our study group, tutoring him until he climbed from the bottom of the class to the top 100. Even after we started dating, because he'd always say he missed us, I'd bring him along during outings. I tried to set him up with great girls, but he'd always say they weren't right for him. How did I not see it sooner? Before he even became my friend, he liked Tina. Right before our engagement, he stood in the rain, blocking her at our doorstep, begging for a fair chance, claiming not to want to ruin our friendship, yet saying he couldn't help but love her. Back then, she didn't choose him. She resolutely got engaged, then married me. But 5 years after marriage, Eric wormed his way into our marriage as the third wheel. Once the facade was lifted, he had no qualms. He'd wait for her at her workplace, fix her lunch, buy her clothes, always caring. He claimed he'd prove with actions he loved Tina more than I did. Tina hated his antics. She blocked him, refused to see him, returned all his gifts. Half a year later, Eric came to me in tears, begging forgiveness, swearing he'd stop bothering Tina. I never wanted to be friends with someone who tried to break my marriage, and Tina said she didn't either. Yet, as the trivialities of married life and the pressures of parenthood crept in, every tiny crack in our marriage saw Eric slipping in, infecting our lives like a virus. Tina started mentioning him more, reminiscing. During our fights, she'd bring up his understanding nature. When the food wasn't to her liking, she'd mention Eric's cooking skills. The small gaps in our relationship, which could have been mended, grew wider due to his presence. She'd storm out and not return all night after our fights. I couldn't take the betrayal and asked for a divorce. She cried, apologizing, unwilling to agree. She said she loved me, but I knew she couldn't let go of Eric. She was hooked on his obedience, his compromises, the gentle way he indulged her. So I went to a lawyer on my own, drafting up divorce papers. I planned for life after divorce, ready to move to another city and start fresh. But in the end, it was Tina who pushed me, and I was forced to witness that sickening scene. The school bell rang soon after. That afternoon, I stared at the familiar yet strange notes on the blackboard, watching teachers come and go. I finally realized something. This isn't a dream. I've been reborn. Perhaps it was heaven's way of giving me another chance to see through people in my past life. I've been sent back to when Eric and I had just started to become friends in sophomore year. Eric was a transfer student, couldn't get into our high school from his middle school. After a year at a third-rate school, his family paid for his transfer here. He was a poor student, always scoring at the bottom. He'd often hide in the bathroom to cry after tests. High school is like a mini-society, and low-achieving boys can be easy targets. Pretty soon, people started mocking him, locking the bathroom door when he cried, pouring water on his head. I was the one who saved him. I chased away the bullies bothering him and even gave him my extra clothes. He cried and thanked me. Seeing how vulnerable he looked, I was afraid he'd get bullied again, so I offered to be his friend. I'm the student council president and have some influence both in class and at school. My interest in him helped change others' attitudes towards him too. Even Tina, because of me, started looking out for him. When I was little, my kind parents often told me, "Giving roses to others leaves fragrance on your hand." I always remembered that saying and helped everyone as much as I could while growing up. Later, Eric timidly admitted he wanted to improve his grades, so I included him in the study group with Tina and me. We helped him get into a local university. But Tina didn't do well in her college entrance exams. Wanting to stay with her, I got caught up in my feelings, giving up my dream school to enroll in a local university instead. In my senior year, there was an opportunity for studying abroad, but once again, for Tina, I stayed. Thinking back, it feels like I was being foolish making those choices. Thankfully, this time, everything's just starting, and there's still time. Right then, the bell rang. Tina and Eric walked toward me at the same time. Eric was excited. "Are we having a study group to review English today?" I got up and grabbed my backpack. "I'm heading home." "Why leave suddenly?" "There are still 2 evening classes left," Eric said, eyes wide. "Are you still not feeling well from the heat this afternoon?" Tina reached out, "Maybe you're even running a fever." I tilted my head away to dodge her hand. She froze, her hand dangling mid-air. "I'm just a bit tired and already asked the teacher for leave." "Want me to walk you home?" Tina offered. "Just wait. I'll talk to the teacher." "No need." I picked up my backpack, walked out of the classroom without waiting. As I reached the apartment building, I ran into Tina's mom taking out the trash. She saw me and beamed. "Oh, Ben, why so early today?" Then she added, "Hey, come by later for some freshly baked cakes. They're still warm." I looked at this woman. Once, I thought I'd found the world's best mother-in-law. But after marriage, because Tina and I didn't have kids, I'd seen her give me so many cold looks. Eventually, she even urged Tina to try being with someone else. "He has problems, you shouldn't waste your time." At my lowest point, she and Eric rushed over, not sparing a glance my way, fully focused on Tina and Eric's child. "Thank you, ma'am." I passed by her. "But I don't like cakes." Seeing her surprised expression, I closed my door. Looking at the books on the second shelf and then at my 17-year-old reflection, I suddenly felt that maybe in this life, I could change more than just love and marriage. Perhaps I could also address regrets I've hidden deep inside. Just then, Mom came home from work. Tina was trailing her. I bumped into Tina downstairs. She said, "You left school early because you got heat stroke. Why didn't you call me?" she asked, rushing over to check my forehead. "You okay now?" "I'm fine," I smiled. "Just got a bit overheated, don't worry." "Sorry about the bother, Ben." Tina placed a pot on the table. "Your mom made some mung bean soup for you and also some cakes I just baked." "Nonsense," Mom laughed. "Your mom must have gone through a lot of trouble." "No trouble at all," Tina smiled back at her. "So, if you're feeling better, want to do homework together tonight?" In the past life until senior year, because we lived next door, Tina and I often did homework and discussed problems together. But this time I wanted something different. I didn't want to get closer than just classmates. I didn't want to get too friendly with her mom or repeat last life's bitter loop. Tina, I quietly said, I've been a bit tired lately. I want to study alone for a while. I'll quit the study group and our nightly homework sessions. And just like that, I left Tina and Eric's study group. In the following days, I studied and did my exercises alone during evening study sessions. Tina would habitually come to find me after classes, but I usually paired up with a desk mate to leave beforehand. When Eric asked me questions, I would claim I was busy. Finally, Tina blocked me at my door over the weekend. What did we do to upset you, Eric and I? She said, not happy. Why are you suddenly ignoring us? You're overthinking it, I replied. It's almost finals, and I just want to focus on studying alone. Overthinking. Everyone can see you've been avoiding me. Do you think I'm blind or deaf? She raised her voice. I stayed silent for a moment. Tina, do you like me? I asked. What? She paused, surprised. I don't like you, I said. What? I mean, although we grew up together and have been together for 17 years, I don't have feelings for you beyond friendship. I just want to focus on studying alone now. You're joking, right? She seemed amused by something. Who said I liked you? I just saw you as a friend I grew up with. That's best, I said softly. Don't flatter yourself. Her expression darkened. I was just concerned as a friend, but you twist it, saying I like you. Fine, if you want to study alone, that's good. We can both study on our own. Okay. I nodded. I watched her storm off angrily. Sorry, 17-year-old Tina. I know the 17-year-old you hasn't done anything yet and isn't the girl juggling two guys. This cold shoulder treatment might seem a bit unfair to you. But with memories from my past life, I can't accept you anymore. Since I foresaw the unhappy future we'd have, why not cut it off before it even starts? Forgetting each other is the best ending for us. After that day, Tina never reached out to me again. Eric noticed I was ignoring him, so he went to Tina instead. She seemed to be acting out and loudly told Eric, no problem, we can form our own study group and still improve our grades. It's not like anyone is indispensable. That's true. In this world, nobody is indispensable. A few days later, our homeroom teacher, Leo, suddenly called me into his office. Ben, have you been a little unwilling to help your classmates lately? I frowned. Teacher, what do you mean? I heard you quit the class study group. I nodded, yeah, I want to study on my own. Leo adjusted his glasses. Listen, you're still young. You need to know, being a good student is one thing, but having good character is just as important. Being selfish isn't right. I was puzzled. I just feel the study group thing isn't really for me. I want to focus on my studies. How is that being selfish? He sighed and changed the subject. Ben, the city's Outstanding Student Award this year, I was planning to recommend you for it. You know, it's not just about good grades, right? It's also about good character. Mr. Leo, I interrupted. First, last year's Outstanding Student Award was a class vote followed by a school vote. It was fair and open. I don't mind doing it the same way this year. Second, I just quit the study group with Tina and Eric. My desk mates and classmates often ask for my help, and I'm always happy to assist. I don't think there's anything wrong with my morals. If I were really 17, I might have felt I hadn't done well enough after a little pressure from a teacher. But inside, I'm 27 with lots of life experience. This kind of talk is just child's play to me. Leo couldn't win the argument, so he just sent me back to class. But during the class meeting that afternoon, he suddenly announced a seating change. Our class study groups were effective. This month, many students improved their grades. With finals coming up, we'll implement a new partner study system. The outstanding student selection will focus more on moral education. Your desk partner's progress will be a key criterion. He called out names for new seating arrangements, pairing Eric as my desk partner. Then, Eric said, hugging his books. He seemed to be trying to consider my feelings. Don't worry. I'll work hard to improve my grades so you can still be the outstanding student. I suddenly found the whole thing amusing. There was our homeroom teacher, gesturing excitedly on stage. That new watch on his wrist stood out. Eric's family was into luxury watches. It dawned on me. In my previous life, the teacher didn't intervene because I'd been helping Eric so much. His grades drastically improved under my guidance. By senior year, he was in the top 100 of the class. His basics were weak. Probably only the past version of me would have such patience. Other students couldn't be bothered to spend their time helping him, not even Tina. When we studied together, she mostly discussed problems with me and rarely helped Eric. When I first left the study group, Eric, though he tried to hide it, seemed pleased. But soon he realized Tina didn't have much patience with him, and I, the best and free helper, suddenly stopped helping. Though he didn't know why, he panicked. He got into the school and class through connections, and persuading Leo with a luxury watch wasn't hard at all. They wanted to use the outstanding student title to bind me, making me continue tutoring for free. What a nice try. After class, I went to find Leo in the office. I don't want to sit next to Eric. Please change my seat. Leo immediately got angry. Ben, what's your problem? Earlier you were all about helping desk mates, and now you want to change seats? You won't cooperate in study groups, and now this with the seating. See if anyone has as many exceptions as you. Do you love everyone in the world? I asked. What? He was stunned. People have those they like and dislike. I can help my desk mate, but I don't like Eric, so I don't want to help him. Are you really choosing who to help? This seating arrangement is based on scores and linked to the outstanding student selection. If you change, is that fair to others? You're only thinking of yourself. I let out a cold laugh. Outstanding student. Outstanding student. I withdraw from the selection. What? I said I withdraw from the outstanding student selection. Don't worry about giving me a new desk mate. I'll sit by myself. Antisocial. Selfish. He was shaking with anger. I'm doing this for your good. If you don't fix your moral shortcomings now, you'll suffer later in society. I'm teaching you how to be a decent person. Thanks for your concern, but I know how to live my life. Rule number 1. Don't let yourself suffer because of others' opinions. That's just an excuse for your selfishness. You're the student council president. Shouldn't you set an example and have a sense of community? If Eric's grades improve, our class could be awarded excellent class. That's our class honor. Don't you owe it to your classmates who voted for you? Teacher, I replied with a smile, compulsory education only goes up to 9th grade, right? In high school, I pay tuition. I'm here to learn, not to work. Whether or not the failing students improve, or whether our class gets an excellent class award, that's not my responsibility. It's yours. Whether I'm doing my job as student council president well can be judged by the teachers in the student affairs office. If you want me to take on more work, you should first talk to my parents about how much you're going to pay me. If the pay's good enough, I wouldn't mind. So young and already all about the money. He pointed at me, frustrated. Don't think just because you're doing well in school that you're something special. Boys often lose their motivation in senior year, and grades frequently drop. Teacher, what you said isn't quite right. A stranger's voice came from the doorway. I turned around to see a girl holding a basketball, lazily leaning against the doorframe. She spun the basketball in her hand. For the past 5 years, our school's top students have been boys for 3 years, right? As a teacher, making baseless claims isn't proper, is it? Linda, you're from the liberal arts class. What do you care about us science class folks? Leo was furious. So this was Linda, the forever #1 in the liberal arts class, rumored to be the top candidate for the city's top student. Didn't you just say, Leo? For a student, moral character is important. Linda shrugged and walked in. Moved by the teacher's teachings, I couldn't stand seeing a fellow student bullied, so I spoke up to help. The teacher was at a loss for words, his face turning a deep shade of red. Linda was known for her sharp tongue and rebellious nature. Even her liberal arts class teacher didn't bother with her much, and Leo clearly couldn't handle her. So he suddenly clutched his chest, pointing back at me. I work tirelessly for you all, and you're determined to stress me out. Leo, don't worry. I won't be able to stress you for much longer, I said calmly. I've decided to switch to the liberal arts track in senior year. Both Leo and Linda were stunned. Leo laughed coldly. Are you trying to make a point? I've never seen someone switch from science to liberal arts in senior year. Linda looked at me as well. I'm serious, I said, looking at Leo. In a few days, I'll have my parents come in to sign the paperwork. Ha, you think you're a genius, deciding what you want to study and when? Leo mocked. I ignored him and turned to leave the office. As I exited, I could still hear Leo's sarcastic voice. If he really switches to the liberal arts, I'll write my name backward. Back in class, I moved my desk and chair to the last row. Eric watched me move and then looked at Tina, his eyes wet and red, as if I bullied him. Most classmates were silently watching, but only Tina approached me. What are you doing? She frowned. Can't you see? Moving my seat. Did the teacher agree? I told him. She watched me pack up, taking a deep breath. Come out with me for a minute. We stepped into the hallway. Don't take out your frustration on Eric just because we had a fight. It's not cool. I laughed. Frustration? Aren't you the one trying to embarrass Eric because you were mad at me for being close to him recently? But Ben, you're the one who said we should just be ordinary classmates. We are just ordinary classmates. I just want to study quietly, Tina. I have no issues with you. I just find Eric annoying. I don't want to waste my time helping him. That's all. After speaking, I tried to go back to class, but Tina grabbed me. What's going on with you? Why are you being so selfish? Let go, I frowned. Okay. I give up. Can you stop making a scene, please? She said. What? She bit her lip. I admit it. I was getting close to him, carpooling with him to tick you off. But you can't just react like this out of anger. She murmured, you seriously need to learn from Eric. Look how gentle and considerate he is. You're lucky it's me who puts up with your temper. I quietly looked at the person in front of me. Sure enough, whether in a past life or this one, whether at 17 or 27, Tina was still Tina. Eric's gentle demeanor, his compromises and favors were always appreciated. And I lived in his self-perceived love and constant comparisons, endlessly spinning like a top. If I didn't spin well, fast, or to his satisfaction, he would instinctively compare me to Eric, pointing and saying, look at him spinning gracefully. I give my love to you, and you're still picky and ungrateful. But this kind of love, I never truly wanted. Tina, I said softly, I often think at the beginning of this relationship it was because I helped Eric. So, for you, I feel somewhat responsible. What? He didn't understand. I shook my head. Here's some advice. Focus on your studies in your senior year. Do more practice exams and reduce anxiety. You could get into a good college. With that, I turned back to the classroom. I could only help him this much. What he chooses next is up to him. Back home, Tina's mom was sitting on the couch, and my mom was on the phone. Yes, I'm sorry, Leo. The kid's giving you trouble, I know. It seems like he acted impulsively. Please don't report this to the school yet. Yes. After hanging up, my mom looked at me with a complex expression. Your teacher said you want to switch to the liberal arts? I nodded. Huh? Switch to liberal arts? Tina's mom chimed in. Listen to Auntie, you shouldn't switch now, not right before senior year. Leo said you talked back to the teacher today and wanted to sit alone. Is something going on? My mom asked. I shook my head. Mom, I want to study liberal arts and aim for the journalism department at Kyoto University. Kyoto University? Tina's mom chimed in. Oh dear, that's not easy to get into. Ben, let me tell you, boys shouldn't go into journalism. There's no money in it. Boys should study finance or accounting. It's easier to get a stable job that way. I was just telling your mom that the accounting programs at our local universities are pretty good. Plus, how far away is Kyoto University? It's better to stay close to home. You and Tina can go to college locally and come home on weekends. In my past life, Tina's mom was always talking about how great it was to stay local to me and my parents. She had a bad leg and didn't want to travel. Tina told me ages ago that her mom wanted her to attend a local university. As her so-called future son-in-law, staying local for college seemed like the safe bet. Back then, it wasn't just infatuation clouding my judgment. It was the years of hearing those words, convincing me to choose a local university's accounting program. You're the only boy in the family. It's better to stay close to your parents. No girl in this world will be better to you than Tina. Get married right after graduation. It's for the best. Ben, it's good for a guy to be ambitious, but stability is more important. You have to think about family. These ideas led me to settle for an average job after graduation and marry Tina. Even when we couldn't get pregnant, I doubted myself. As time went on with no pregnancy, Tina's mom's attitude soured. I accidentally overheard her telling Tina, "Sweetie, even if you're married, you shouldn't be stuck with him. You should have done a premarital exam. Who knew he couldn't have kids? Mom, it may not be Ben. Could be me. How could it be you?" She raised her voice. "Ben's spoiled because of you always getting what he wants. I even think Eric is better now. He comes over, brings me things, and is way nicer. It's modern times, you know. Divorce isn't unheard of. You two fight all the time, try Eric. If you get pregnant, dump Ben and be with Eric." Memories surged up, and Tina's mom was still pushing her views on my mom. In this world, most people are average, can't aim too high. Guys need stability, should graduate and start families early. Auntie, I interrupted, most people are average, sure, but they have dreams. Dreams aren't aiming too high. If you read, you'd see everyone plays a role in advancing history. Not everyone can change history. Kids get poisoned by these foreign ideas online, thinking they're all that. Turning to my mom, she said, "Ben's mom, didn't I tell you? Watch his thinking. It's scary when they're brainwashed." I chuckled. "Auntie, is the internet brainwashing me? Or are you brainwashing my family? How dare you?" She snapped. "You always come over, telling my mom I shouldn't go far or have ambitions. I just don't get why you want to control me. Ungrateful child," she fumed. "I watched you grow up. I care about you, not some random kid. If you're busy, maybe stay away from our house," I said coldly. Tina's mom gaped at me, speechless. "Fine, I'm leaving. I won't come again," she said, moving sluggishly, hoping my mom would stop her. I held my mom's hand first. "Thanks, Auntie. I'm entering junior year and want a peaceful study environment." Tina's mom turned green, then pale as she left, stopping to say to my mom, "Your kid needs to be disciplined." After she left, my mom sighed. "Why are you so angry today?" "Your dad and I have always been open-minded," she said. "My parents are kind-hearted but sometimes easily swayed." I took my mom to my room, pointing at the news books on the shelf. "Mom, you know I've been into journalism for ages. The college exam isn't the only life-changing chance, but it's a crucial choice," I explained. "I always followed the crowd. Everyone said science had better prospects, but I prefer liberal arts. I've thought about it and decided, despite focusing on sciences, I kept up with humanities. I can catch up this summer. I want to switch and chase my dream at Kyoto University. This decision might be risky, but I'll give it everything," I declared. She looked at me, then patted my shoulder. "All right, we'll discuss it with your dad tonight." I hugged her tightly. "Thanks, Mom." We talked long that night. The next day, my mom and I went to Lens and signed the papers. Crazy kids, followed by crazy parents. Lens sneered at my mom. She smiled back. "We believe in supporting our child's decisions, not throwing cold water." Leaving the office, I felt happy and relieved. Maybe I won't end up being successful, but I have supportive parents and I've made my own choices. On the first day of senior year, I ran into Linda at the door of the humanities class 1. "Wow, you actually came." She raised an eyebrow and welcomed me. Tina, however, was upset when she found out I switched to the humanities class. "Why didn't you talk to me about it?" I paused for a moment. "Tina, this is my personal decision. Aside from my parents, there's no need to discuss it with anyone else." "Fine, just fine," she scoffed. "Then consider this the end of our friendship. Right at the beginning of school, there was a baseline test. Maybe to get us nervous, the questions were quite tough. A week later, the results were in. I ranked 11th in the humanities class. The entire senior year office was buzzing. When our class teacher Anna called me to the office, I overheard Len shouting inside, "It's impossible for someone who just transferred to rank so high in humanities. His ego is huge. He definitely cheated for appearances. This should be thoroughly investigated." I knocked on the door, and the noise inside came to a halt. Anna saw me and immediately waved me over with a smile. Ben, you did well in the baseline test. The teachers are curious how you've improved so much in such a short time in humanities. Ah, Ben sneered from the side. I paused, got serious, and replied, Anna, do some teachers suspect I cheated? Anna was honest. Well, coming straight from the science class to rank 11th is impressive. The teachers are indeed curious. I smiled. Anna, do you know how I spent my summer before junior year? I locked myself up, no entertainment, bought humanities review materials and real high school exam papers, and studied point by point, question by question, from 8 a.m. to midnight daily. Teachers' curiosity, I understand, but baseless cheating accusations, I can't accept. Is it baseless? There's no smoke without fire. Do you have proof you didn't cheat? Ben chimed in. There are invigilators and monitors in the exam room. Ben, why don't you ask them or check the footage instead of questioning me? Look, Anna, look, Ben said excitedly. He's so defiant. He's full of himself because he's a student officer. You must call his parents. But Anna ignored him. Ben, the teachers believe in you. Keep it up. Ben's eyes widened in disbelief. But Anna, you're young and don't know how cunning students can be. You can't encourage them to cheat just to boost your class scores. Linda, who was organizing materials, suddenly spoke up. Ben, speaking of honesty, didn't you say you'd write Ben backwards if he transferred to humanities class? Are you writing backwards yet? The other teachers were struggling to hold back laughter, and one couldn't help but chuckle. Anna smiled too. Maybe less of your business, all right? A minute later, Linda and I left the office one after another. Ben, I turned back. You're actually kind of interesting, she said, hands in her pockets. I always thought school was dull without any competition, but now, to be honest, I'm actually looking forward to something. Looking forward to what? I asked, confused. She smiled, meeting you at the top someday. After that, my days were consumed with nothing but studying. News from the science class sometimes reached me, like Eric's aggressive pursuit of Tina. Maybe my leaving pushed him to act earlier than in the past. But this time, it's different. In the past, Eric was Tina's warm haven away from marriage because of how I behaved. This time, I'm in humanities, and Eric's relentless pursuit just embarrasses Tina. She has no time or patience to help him improve his grades, and romance is not essential under the pressure of senior year. Eric became the laughingstock again. I didn't expect him to take out his frustrations on me. For the past 2 weeks, a few boys to my left have been loudly chatting while I study. They used to bully Eric. Now it seems they've shifted their target to me. Once, after school, I saw Eric with them, all secretive. They all wore new watches on their wrists. During one break, those boys cornered me in the toilet stall and dumped a bucket of cold water over me, drenching me completely. What goes around comes around. One giggled. I stood there silent, borrowed a towel, dried off at the nurses, then filled a bucket with water. When I re-entered the class with the bucket, those boys were laughing. I walked up and poured the water on them. Oh, they shrieked. That's all you got? I smiled. Sorry, I'm the kind who repays a drop of water with a bucketful. You're insane, they yelled. We're telling the teacher. I'm the one who should do that, I sneered. Why are you still playing these petty bullying games? If you're so bold, you wouldn't sit here trying to disrupt me. You don't have the guts. Yeah, we can't stand you. You're not even the student council president anymore, so stop acting like it. We heard about your cheating scandal. Annoyed, I just thought, get real. A voice suddenly came from the back of the classroom. The whole class went quiet. Linda lazily sat up and walked over. You guys don't want him sitting here? She asked. A boy, wiping the sweat off his forehead, replied, yeah, he bullies us. Plus, Linda, you know he's a cheater, right? We don't want someone like that sitting with us. After he spoke, a few of them wore expressions as if they were watching a good show. Oh, Linda nodded, then turned to me. Honestly, I think the learning environment here isn't great. You know, birds of a feather flock together. You don't need to prove you're different in such an important year as senior year. Want to be my desk mate instead? What? I was stunned. The other boys were too. On my first day in this class, I heard about Linda. Smart, good-looking, and sharp-tongued. Some guys had tried to be her desk mate, hoping to get close by asking questions. But they barely lasted before she roasted them to tears. Eventually, nobody dared approach her, and her desk mate's seat remained vacant. This was probably the first time the class genius actively invited someone to be her desk mate. Who wouldn't take her up on that offer? Sure. I nodded. Let's go. She picked up my backpack, and together, with the entire class watching, moved my seat next to hers. But knowing Eric and those guys, they probably wouldn't let it go that easily. To avoid more drama in such a critical time, I was considering asking my dad to pick me up after evening study sessions. Then Linda spoke up. I helped Anna with some stuff. Saw your address. You live over at 15th Street, right? I nodded. My place is just a street behind yours. Evening sessions go till 9 starting next week. Want to walk home together? That would be perfect. And you placed 11th in last month's test, right? Yeah. 11th won't get you into Capital University. She tossed me a book of wrong problem sets. I don't need these anymore. Feel free to use them if you want. The bell for the end of the study session rang, and she got up, picking up a basketball to head out. Linda. She turned back. I heard you're not really one to meddle in others' business. True, she said with a lazy tone, but you're not exactly others now. What? She gave a slight smile. Looking forward to working with you, desk mate. A class genius's book of mistakes is more valuable than any study guide. In the following month, I studied even harder, analyzing problems and methods. In the first monthly test of senior year, I made it to 8th place. Rumors about me cheating during the entrance exams crumbled, and Linda and I became more familiar. When the city announced the results of the annual student evaluation, even though Class 1 of Science didn't recommend me as an exemplary student, the student office did recommend me as an outstanding student leader, and I received the honor as expected. When Leo heard the results, he threw his excellent teacher mug in the office. After the national holiday, our school held the fall sports meet. On my way to fetch water, I suddenly saw Leo and Eric sneaking around with a man behind the school building. I thought for a moment, then snuck into an empty classroom on the first floor, crouched below a window, and pressed the record button on my phone. Leo, Eric's grades aren't good enough for top colleges here. Could we raise his class scores a bit? That way, if we apply to foreign schools, it'll look better. I got it. It's hard to cheat in the main exams now, but I can help with regular grades. Thank you so much. We've tried other tutors, but they didn't work. Maybe arrange for some smart students to tutor him? If his main exam scores go up, that'd be ideal. That last kid, Ben, was too uncooperative. I've already moved him to the arts class. I'll find someone else. Your son doesn't get along with that boy. Don't worry. I'll find a chance to give him some trouble, maybe a punishment or something. It's not hard. Great, great. Here's a watch for you. I can't keep letting Eric's mom spend money. It's no big deal. Once the footsteps moved away, my palms were sweaty. Just as I was about to leave, a voice came. Eavesdropping so blatantly, aren't you afraid of getting caught? My hair stood on end. I looked up. It was Linda. You scared the hell out of me. What are you doing here? I widened my eyes. Really? You ask me? Before you play spy reporter, maybe learn the basics. The classroom door wasn't even shut. Sitting right there. Aren't you worried someone might catch you? What? Did anyone see? Idiot, of course not. She crossed her arms. I was keeping watch the whole time. The next day, before the whole school did exercises, the broadcast system suddenly played a strange recording. The stars of the recording were our senior science class teacher, Leo, and Eric's parent. The head of the broadcasting group, Linda, called it a live accident. She claimed, shrugging, that she'd gotten a mysterious recording pen and just wanted everyone to hear it. But apparently the mic hadn't been turned off. Leo got suspended and lost all opportunities for awards. And because some students had recorded and shared it online, it went viral in less than an hour. The internet being the internet, users turned into detectives. Former students of him accused him of favoritism, and Eric's family details were laid bare. Isn't this the place selling fake watches? I bought one too, thinking it was second-hand, but it was all fake. With reports from users, law enforcement got involved. It turned out Eric's family wasn't just selling counterfeit products but was involved in money laundering too. The school began investigating Eric for bullying. They found those other boys and confronted them. They cried, saying Eric gave them watches to bully me. Eric became a pariah and dropped out not long after. The saddest thing was his finding the watch he wore so proudly was a fake too. The day after Eric left, in the afternoon, I saw Tina by the entrance of our apartment complex. She apologized, saying, "I'm sorry. I had no idea he was always so sinister, always targeting you. I ended up disliking him too." She twisted her hands helplessly. "I'm sorry, Ben. Can we make up? Please?" she said while holding my old favorite strawberry milk. But when I saw that milk, I was instantly reminded of a past life. I came home early from a business trip and found the strawberry milk, which should have been in the fridge, sitting on the table. The bedroom and bathroom were filled with an indescribable smell, evidence of the rushed morning after some pleasure. After being reborn, I never drank strawberry milk again. Suddenly feeling queasy, I turned my head and couldn't help but throw up. Tina was frightened and came over to pat my back, but I stopped her. "Sorry, I tried to calm down. I don't like this milk anymore." "Then, should I get something else?" she stammered. I shook my head. "No, it won't help. We can't go back." "Tina," I forced a smile, "let's not see each other for a while. I wish you success in your college entrance exams." "Is it because of Linda?" he suddenly asked. "What? You like Linda, don't you? That's why you switched to liberal arts, to be with her. You sit together now and walk home together, right?" She raised her voice. "Tina, Linda and I are just classmates. I told you I just want to focus on my studies." She laughed coldly. "Coming in second place, right? I never thought you'd be like this. Many guys like Linda. She's not a good choice for you," she said with a dark face. "Ben, for not choosing me, you'll regret it someday." Since then, whenever Tina saw me, she acted like a stranger. She seemed even more determined, throwing herself entirely into studying. Her mom couldn't stop boasting about her improving grades. "These grades? With such scores, she can easily pick any top university," she bragged in our neighborhood. At the end of the first semester, I was steady at the second rank in our grade. The second semester passed quickly with the first, second, and third practice exams, and May gave way to June, the time for the college entrance exams. I felt pretty good about my performance. Linda and I compared our answers and had a rough estimate of our scores. We figured both of us would make it to a top university. And when the scores came out, that's exactly what happened. Linda unsurprisingly clinched first place in the city, and I got 8th. We both received offers from several universities. I chose journalism at Peking University. Linda went for history. Tina also did well, getting into the best local university, much better than in the previous life. But I heard she fell ill after exams, and her mom filled out her applications for her. As fate would have it, both Tina and my graduation parties were booked at the same hotel on the same day. Tina and her mom stood at the entrance of the banquet hall opposite us. Her mom all smiles but Tina seeming low-spirited. "It's not about the school. It's about the major. I handpicked finance for Tina so she can make big money in the future," said Tina's mom, glancing our way. "Those 2 kids who got into Peking this year are studying news and history. Sure, it's a top school, but they'll struggle to find jobs." My mom was about to confront her when I quickly pulled her back. "Don't stoop to her level," I soothed my mom, patting her back. "Peking University is unmatched. I'm telling you, boys will line up to date Tina," boasted Tina's mom. "I'm already worrying about how to choose the right son-in-law." Moved by her own speech, she tugged at Tina. "Didn't I tell you to bring your acceptance letter to show your aunts?" Tina shook her head, her eyes suddenly locking with mine from across the room, brimming with a mournful look. "Oh, why are you shaking your head?" Tina's mom grabbed Tina's bag, spilling everything on the floor. An elderly lady, trying to be helpful, picked up a piece of paper. "Is this the acceptance letter? What's this say? Infertility? What?" A few people crowded around, one gasping, "Tina, you can't have kids? That'll make finding a partner tough." "What nonsense." Tina's mom snatched the report. Tina, what is this? When did you get this checked? It's a mistake. She must have doctored it, she said hurriedly. It's not a mistake, Tina suddenly spoke. I am infertile. I can't have children. You're talking nonsense. Tina's mom hit her back in anger. Get inside now. With a self-deprecating smile, Tina walked away, ignoring her mom's shouts. Suddenly, something clicked in my mind. Tina. I chased after her. She turned back, tears in her eyes, her voice hoarse. Then, you remember our past life too, don't you? I said quietly. She didn't answer but dashed forward and hugged me tightly. I had a long, long dream, she cried, her words a blur. In the dream, I betrayed you. I thought I was pregnant with his child. You fell off the stairs and I didn't rush to save you. Later, I found out the child wasn't mine. We argued and he stabbed me with scissors. So that was it. In a previous life, Tina never really went for any checkups. But I actually did. The results showed I had no fertility issues. I hadn't had the chance to tell Tina before I found out about her affair with Eric. I'm sorry, Ben. I'm so sorry, but that was just a dream, right? She cried. I would never do that to you. I never would. We still have a chance. Everything has a chance now. Let's make it work this time. Okay? I gently pushed him away. Tina, you and I both know that wasn't a simple, fleeting dream. The bleeding was real, the pain was real, and it was all suffering that I truly experienced. If you were still the Tina who didn't remember anything, maybe we could still get along as classmates or friends. But you remember now, and we can't even be ordinary classmates. I don't want to carry the hatred from a past life into this one. Strangers, that's my final boundary. I hope in this life you become a better person. I may seem heartless, but I don't pity him. If everything had gone as it should, she would have happily been with Eric in the last life, right? Never expect to use your own misery or even your life to earn anyone's remorse. Because belated pity and regret are worthless compared to a life full of unknown excitement and beauty. That night, Tina's mom cried and caused a scene at home, loud enough for the whole block to hear. At 9 p.m., a small stone suddenly hit my bedroom window. When I looked out, it was Linda. She stood under the street lamp in a long dress, like a princess from a fairy tale. I quickly changed and went downstairs. Why didn't you just text me? In this day and age, who throws stones to get attention? I laughed. I just wanted to see if you'd hear it. She shrugged, and we both laughed. I'm going traveling with my parents tomorrow, so the next time we'll meet is at Beijing University. I nodded. Yeah. What's this flower? Clearing her throat, she said, This is a lily of the Incas. I happened to see it at the flower shop and thought its meaning suited you, so I bought it. Boys can receive flowers too, you know. She handed the flower to me. Congrats on getting into Beijing University, I said, taking it with a smile. Same to you. Get upstairs. See you at Beijing University. Yeah, see you there. Watching Linda's departing figure, I suddenly remembered her words. She said the meaning of the flower suits me, but she didn't say what it actually meant. I looked it up on my phone. The answer quickly popped up. The meanings of the lily of the Incas. Friendship, looking forward to reunion, and rebirth. In September, I enrolled in the journalism program at Beijing University. The old professor gave us our first lecture. If any of you want to make big money, apply to switch majors now. There's still time, he chuckled. As journalists, never forget one thing, your social responsibility. And there's a lot you need to learn: interviewing, writing, layout design, video production. I was overwhelmed, and Linda was also incredibly busy. She's still a standout figure at the university and shines so brightly even among many talented people at Beijing University. In fact, a guy in my class who heard we were high school classmates asked if I could introduce him to her. I happily asked Linda, but she turned him down right away. Why don't you want to meet him? He's a really nice guy, I asked. Just not interested. She didn't even look up. Lots of guys are curious. What kind of boyfriend are you looking for? She said without looking up, not looking. Why not? I was puzzled. Well, you're not dating anyone either, right? She said. That's because I'm so busy. Same here. She closed her book. I'm busy too. Linda didn't date anyone all through senior year. Some guys even started questioning her orientation and subtly asked me if she was into women. I thought about it, probably not. Then she must like you, they said. Honestly, besides you, we haven't seen her close with any other guys. After graduation, I got an offer to pursue a master's in journalism abroad. Linda stayed for her PhD at our university. On the day I left for Beijing, she came to the airport to see me off. As I was about to leave, a wave of strong emotion hit me. You know what? Being busy with studies, not having the time for relationships, all just excuses. It was really due to the deep hurt I experienced in a previous life, making me afraid to take that step again. But what if? What if it's this person in front of me? Could I give it a shot? I clenched my hands, suddenly looked up, and said, Linda, do you like me? She was stunned. Then she laughed. Ben, you know why TV shows can go on for 100 episodes? Why? Because they never say things directly. You being so straightforward, what's left for the plot? Cut the crap. I was impatient. Do you or don't you? If not, forget it. Are you mad? She laughed and grabbed my hand. It's just, I feel it's such a pity. I was planning to give you a surprise after you arrived by taking the next flight over. What? I was shocked. I've been waiting for the day you'd want to date. Then she pulled out a beautifully pressed lily of the Inca's bookmark. At the same time, I heard that gentle, sweet voice. She said, I love you. Linda and I did the long-distance thing for 3 years. After that, I returned home and became a social news reporter. 2 years later, Linda graduated with her PhD, stayed at the university to teach, and was promoted to associate professor in less than 2 years. I've always stayed true to my roots as a journalist, focusing on every news story with a quest for truth. I've been thriving in this field I love and have picked up several industry awards along the way. Then there's Linda, who became quite the sensation as a guest on a history show, winning the title of one of the new big voices in Beijing for her quick wit and eloquence. Back when I switched over to the humanities class, she told me she looked forward to seeing us both at the top. Years later, we both stood at the peaks in our respective fields and kept reaching, exploring new heights. Just a year after that, we got married. Another year flew by, and it was college entrance exam season. Our high school invited both of us back to give a talk. Funny enough, while I waited by the roadside for Linda, who went to buy some water, I bumped into Tina. She was holding hands with a kid. She saw me and walked over. I always see you on TV and online. She laughed. You must have been doing great these past few years. I nodded. I've been teaching in the mountains, and this is my adopted child, she said. After a brief chat, she left with the kid. Linda came back just then, squinting into the distance. Was that Tina? What was she doing here? Was she looking for you? I couldn't help but laugh. We just randomly bumped into each other. Are you getting jealous over such old history? She gave a little huff. Oh, by the way, I tugged on her sleeve. Do you remember buying me a bunch of lilies back in the day? Did you get them from the flower shop over there? She gazed at me, muttering under her breath. At times, you're just so clueless. Did you really think you could find those rare flowers at a small shop like that? Nope. I ordered them online, searched through several places. It was tough to find them. I blinked at her. Wow, Linda, could it be you liked me back then? To my surprise, she blushed and grabbed my hand tightly. All right, let's go. We'll be late. Oh my God. Even after getting married, she still blushes. It's so unlike the aloof and confident Professor Linda from school. Back at our old high school, I discovered I had become a bit of a legend among the students there. After our talk, the school asked us to write something for the new crop of students. After thinking it over, I wrote, "Love it, live it with passion. Believe in yourself, and I can't wait to see you at the top."